Hi, I'm Darlene Washington, and this is Spiritually Intriguing, the Church Edition. Here we are today with Reverend Dr. John E. Jackson, Sr. of Trinity United Church of Christ in Gary, Indiana. Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm fine, and yourself?
I'm doing well.
Today we're going to ask Reverend Dr. Jackson, Sr., about various issues that are going on in the secular community right now. We're excited to learn his opinion of what's going on out there, which is a whole lot, as usual. Meanwhile, before we do that, we're going to learn all about his pastoral journey, which I'm sure is going to be very exciting. Tell us, how did you become Reverend Dr. John E. Jackson, Sr.?
Thank you so much, Darlene, for having me on your program. I grew up in Chicago, south side of Chicago.
Okay.
I did not want to be a pastor. I had not thought of it, but there was always something in me that said I would be doing something in the church. Didn't know what it was, but as growing up, there are other things I wanted on my mind.
Right.
After going through many years of working in factories and things like that, I got a job at the police department in Chicago. I worked in housing, and so while working for the police department, there were a number of things, because you're dealing with people at their worst, and that is when I actually accepted my call to the ministry.
Wow.
Working with people and trying to be of service to people rather than having a lock 'em up focus.
Right.
And so that's where I accepted my call. I went to into seminary, McCormick Theological Seminary.
Okay.
When I graduated from seminary, I was extremely fortunate to get on staff under Dr. Jeremiah A. Wright Jr. of Trinity United Church of Christ in Chicago. I spent about 5 years working on staff with him, which was incredibly wonderful. But then there was an opportunity to start a brand new church here in Gary under our denominational umbrella. And so I jumped at the opportunity, and we started out in a school in Gary for about 4 years. We worshiped in an auditorium. And after about 4 years, we were able to secure the funds to build this edifice that we are in right now. We'll be 10 years as a congregation in October. I will be 10 years as the pastor of this church in November. We are a church that brings together the secular and the sacred, because Jesus, as we understand the scriptures, dealt with the whole person. And so that brings together the secular, the sacred, the political, and the spiritual together, because we have to minister to the whole person. And our motto is, we're not just another church, but we're a culturally conscious, Christ-centered church committed to the community. We are unashamedly black, unapologetically Christian, which also brings together the fact that we are a people, not an object in history. We're subject in history. We're African people living in America, and our Africanity and our Christianity walk hand in hand.
Oh, that's awesome. Also, I noticed you mentioned Dr. Jeremiah Wright.
Yeah.
I have come across many pastors in my interviews who have come up from behind him or been trained by him. So that's very interesting.
Definitely. There are a lot of sons and daughters of Dr. Jeremiah A. Wright Jr.
I see. He's quite a busy man. I hope to interview him one day if he's willing. I'm going to reach out to him.
That would be awesome.
That would be truly awesome. Okay, well, that's a wonderful journey.
Thank you.
And we're so glad to have a church like this in the community that is committed to helping African Americans to better learn themselves and to survive in the Americas, we should say.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so our first order of business, one of the questions I have is, you know about the Malaysian air flight that disappeared, right?
Absolutely.
And it's such a horrible thing, but from the day that I heard the announcement and they made the statement that over half of the crew were Chinese officials, and then there were also 2 individuals on the plane who had stolen passports.
Right.
The whole thing just stunk of some kind of shenanigans going on. But I mean, who knows? Things are not always as they seem.
Right.
You can never count on things as they seem. That's why you want to count on evidence and actuality. But my question is, do you feel there's criminal activity connected with the Malaysian flight disappearance, since more than half of the flight contained Chinese officials? How do you feel about that?
I've wrestled with it being some nefarious means. The thing is, I really don't know yet. I haven't been able to settle on it is or it isn't. But what it seems like is at best there's a lot of malfeasance or just the inability to handle this type of crisis in the Malaysian government. I was looking at a program where Captain Jim Tillman, who used to be a weather person at Channel 5 NBC, and he asked a very pertinent question. When the flight immediately they saw it was lost, why weren't jets scrambled to get to where the last location was? So there are a lot of questions.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a lot of questions, and I'm really waiting for some type of pieces of the plane or something that will begin to tell the story. Was it an explosion, or are the people still alive and the plane is still home?
Yeah. Or you have those situations where they're Bermuda, like the Bermuda Triangle. There are other places in the world outside of the Bermuda Triangle where planes and ships and things of this nature just suddenly disappear. And a lot of people don't believe in it. But if you put science behind it, they're like, well, something caused it to fall. It didn't just disappear. But the truth of the matter is there have been some strange flight disappearances, boat disappearances, things of that nature in air and on water. So we're saying, did the plane get sucked into the world? We're still waiting, but there's so it's like we want conclusion as to what has finally taken place with this plane. Our hearts go out to the families, and it's just a horrible situation to be in.
That is the true tragedy.
Right.
All these families have no closure at this point.
Exactly. It's just horrible. Okay, well, that does it for that question. Another thing that's going on out there is, I don't know if you've been paying attention to death row situations, but they have a show out, I think it's on CNN, or I believe it's CNN, where they're talking about death row situations where people are sitting on death row, waiting to be executed, and then all of a sudden, oh, my bad, we're gonna let you go because you didn't do it. We thought you did it, but so it's like, really? So how many people, has this happened to? It's like, it's crazy. So my question about this is death row necessary? And why does it take a student organization investigation to expose our flawed justice system? How many people have died behind this type of justice? It makes you want to just scream and holler,
Absolutely. That is one of the areas of grave concern. Because we are a church that believes in both arms of the cross, the vertical arm that reach up to heaven to give us Holy Ghost strength to carry out the work that Jesus called us to do on the horizontal in the lives of people. That is one area, in particular in this country, that is, as I said, grave concern, because our country, to be the size that it is, incarcerates, first of all, more people than any other country. Our nation is one of 71 developed nations that still have the death penalty.
Wow.
And our nation is a nation that professes to be a Christian nation. Now we know we have other religions in the nation, but one of the brandings or talking point is that we're a Christian nation. That is not a Jesus Christ stance. Now I know that people point to Old Testament scriptures and things like that, but in the New Testament, when we look at the life of Jesus Christ, to have a death penalty as a part of your nation is just antithetical to what Jesus Christ was about. So first of all, my answer is we really should not have a death penalty.
Wow.
And then to have over 140 persons since 1973 who have been released from death row smacks of a terrible situation that is going on. And that is just, those are just the ones that have been counted. How many people have died
Exactly.
who did not commit the crime? The Innocence Project is doing a great job in the area of exposing it. Amnesty International are doing a great job. But the fact of the matter is, we have got to begin to be a compassionate nation instead of a nation that is trying to pejoratively prohibit people from living. And this lock 'em up mentality, and this mass incarceration. Attorney Michelle Alexander has an incredible book, The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration in the Age of Colorblindness, which documents, this issue with the stop and frisk and the war on drugs, which is really in reality a war on people with the privatization of prisons. Private corporations own the majority of prisons. And because they are in the business of making money, that means they have to have people in prison, which drives drug policy and law enforcement.
That is horrible. How can a prison be owned by a private organization? That should be government owned and regulated. And
It is a part of the privatization that is sweeping across America and in every city. And prisons make money. It's called the prison industrial complex.
I bet it is.
And there is a school to prison pipeline because of the resources that are drawn out of poor community, so that now schools become warehouses. In fact, new prisons are being built right now based on the third grade test scores of students. Exactly. And so then that feeds right into this death row mentality, where we have people who have been convicted or have pled to something because they've been pressured by the attorneys or prosecutors.
Yeah. Wow, that is horrible. That is just horrible. And then when I think about it, who's to say that just because someone gets a low test score in third grade now, that later on in life they can't turn that around, or in high school they can't turn it around, and even in your 20s or in people's 20s they have turned their lives around. Anyone can turn their life around should they seek Jesus and welcome him into their heart. Now, no one is perfect. It is always a journey to get to stay with God and to walk in Christ. So I think they call it backsliding sometimes, or they call it just trying to get there, to stay there. So and it's your walk, and it's how you live it. So, but the point is, everyone is not perfect, and there are certainly people out there who used to rob, kill, and steal who don't anymore. There are people who've paid for their crimes and who are out here now in the world trying to be productive citizens or helping other folks along. So it's very ignorant to assume that third graders and any other range of individuals will suddenly become criminals, especially if you now perpetuate that thing to happen. You want to flag students and flag communities.
In poor communities.
And for this to happen.
Yeah, because I don't know if you read in the last couple of months, in Texas there was a young adult white male who killed about 4 people drunk driving, and had been in trouble with the law before. And the judge decided in the case that he was not responsible, and they called it because of affluenza. He was so affluent, he did not understand right and wrong. And so he did not do any jail time. He's in a treatment center. I just read about another white male, who raped a 3-year-old. And because he's of the DuPont family, extremely wealthy family, the judge said he should not do any jail time because he will not last in prison. And so he would do better with treatment. Now, if you're poor from Gary in Indiana and you get caught with a little reefer, or you get caught, with some type of drugs on you, you're going straight to jail. If you have no criminal history, you're going straight to jail. And you're going to end up having a public defender because your parents don't have the money. And you're going to end up pleading to something because they're going to put fear in you that if you go to court and have a jury trial, then they're going to really throw the book at you.
Right. Wow.
So this is unchristian.
Yeah.
and it's insensitive.
Right.
And so it speaks of the profit motive of our country. We're in the condition we're in from the stock market to the lending institutions that lend this money for houses and all of these things that just built people because we put profit over people. In too many instances, from the political to the corporate structure, and unfortunately in the church structure also.
Yeah,
Profit drives instead of people.
Yeah, and that's a very unfortunate thing. Well, the only thing I can say is I pray to God that people watching this will take notice of it, and let's all try to do whatever we can to bring issues to light and change these things. Well, that kind of does it for this session. Pardon me, we will talk more with Reverend Dr. Johnny Jackson Sr. in just a moment. Thanks for watching.